everybody. My name is Dr. Charles Partito. I'm the owner of Ejuva, and I want to talk several minutes actually regarding our Health Through the Mail program. Now, I was just going to put on the website, call in for details, and my web builder said, you know what, you're going to get a lot of phone calls. You're going to be repeating yourself over and over like a parrot, and people want to see their doctor. They want to meet the person who they're going to be dealing with regarding their body and nutrients, etc. So why don't you make a video, and here I am. As a former owner of a Beverly Hills modeling agency, and 6 miles down Wilshire Boulevard, at the same time I owned a very high-end hair salon, I learned all about lighting and makeup and Photoshop, and this is raw. So, I mean, there's no makeup, no lighting, a cheap camera. If it doesn't look good, I apologize in advance. So, with that said, a little bit about me. I used to be very obese. I had 2 so-called incurable diseases and many other ailments associated with someone who's sick, like skin conditions and whatnot. Now, I tried the traditional ways of trying to get better, allopathic medicine, you know, the traditional westernized medicine, and I just seemed to be getting worse and worse and worse. Then I met my teacher and mentor, the guy founded the college I went to. So I went to this college and was lucky enough to get his knowledge, and I earned a legal degree as something called a naturopath, an ND for short. I also earned a degree in something called food chemistry and its relationship to the human body. As a result, I was able to cure myself of these diseases, lose my weight, and now I test great. I test my tissue, everything comes back at a 30-year-old, and most people are very surprised after I do a lecture or talk or whatever it is. They guess my age at 33, 35, 37. I'm actually 50 years old, and I keep up with the 20-year-olds at the gym, etc. nowadays. And there was a time where there was no way that was possible. And then not only was I able to go to Dr. Robbins' school and everything, but I was able to work side by side with him for literally a decade. And that knowledge was invaluable. And what happened was I wanted to spread the word. I opened my own clinic nearby, and I had huge successes there and became very confident that this stuff works. And I wanted to take it around the world. So Dr. Robbins and I put together this Health Through the Mail, as we call it. That was one of the reasons. The other reason was there's so many people out there now on the raw food stage beating their chest saying, hey, you know what, I know the way. And when we hear what they have to say, or read what they have to say, we find out that they really don't know what they're talking about. And we ask them, where do you get educated? And it's like, well, I lost a lot of weight, or I hang out with these guys who've been raw for a long time, or I went to the school of hard knocks. And there's so much misinformation out there. Now, I'm not saying you should listen to me. I'm simply suggesting that you should be careful from whom you listen to. Meaning that I would suggest that you listen to people that actually spent years studying pathology, years studying physiology, years studying anatomy, years studying food chemistry, people that actually have clinics where their patients are getting better instead of everything that's out there. Because if you don't know, we're lucky enough to know because we have the education, we draw the blood, we test the urine, we do the saliva. We know when someone's correct and when someone's not correct. And a lot of people don't have that information, and they just kind of follow blindly. So the purpose to making Health Through the Mail is because people were listening to these other people up on stage, and they were saying, you need to buy my supplements that I'm selling you because they're raw and because they're good for you. And the truth is, these authors and lecturers have no idea what you need because they never tested you. And that's just the simple, plain truth. No one knows, not even you, until you test. And even if you did need the protein or the vitamin C that you bought from your favorite lecturer, how do you know when you no longer need it without testing? And the answer is you can't. You don't know. It's impossible to know. So we put together a program that is very inexpensive, that's non-intrusive, it's done from the privacy of your own home, and we call it Health Through the Mail. And tens of thousands of people around the world have tried it, and we've had huge responses and huge successes for the ones who actually follow the program. And what is Health Through the Mail exactly? What are we testing? It has 3 tests, and the first test is a 24-hour urinalysis, and this is where you catch your urine for a 24-hour period. You send my lab a 2-ounce sample of it, and we give you the 2-ounce sample bottle. We give you all the packaging and the shipping label to get it back to my lab. That's all inclusive. And what we get from that are many things, and you'll receive this, which is the actual 24-hour urinary results. And we test for pathology, glucose, ketones, bilirubin, and urobilirubin. And what the glucose tests for is diabetes. There's been a lot of people, probably 1 out of 100, that have done our test that didn't even know they were diabetics until they took our test. They just knew they weren't feeling very well. Ketones, which checks for excessive fat or excessive protein in the diet. Bilirubins, which is a sign of an overworked or congested liver. And the urobilirubins would be for not only just a toxic and congested liver, but it also is a good indicator of your probiotics and how many you have and how well they're working for you. The next one is kidney function. It tells you right here if it's within normal limits, if you have dehydration. It tells you if you have kidney congestion. It tells you if you are drinking too much water, which is a lot of them out there. A lot of these experts are telling you need to drink so much water. Well, there's something called polyuria, which stresses the kidney and leaches minerals from your body. The next thing that's tested is digestion. How well do you digest the food? And it tells you whether there's small amount. It's a measurement of indican, which is actually rotting food in the body. 25%, approximately 50%, approximately 75%. It tells you the associated conditions, and it tells you the recommendations on how to rid that of your body. And then it goes on to test your absorption, which is, it says right here, the ability to transport digested nutrients from the intestines into the bloodstream. Tells you if it's in normal limits, mildly decreased, moderately decreased, very decreased. It has the associated symptoms, and it has the recommendations of how to correct that if it needs correcting. It tests nutrient assimilation, total picture of how well the body is using, or actually it's assimilating the food content. And assimilation is something that occurs after digestion, and it'll tell you how well everything's getting used. And for most people, we find it's not very well. That's why so many people don't do very well on a raw food diet, and that's why supplements are so important. However, most supplements are garbage and do more harm than good. And so we recommend the specific supplements that will actually help your body, and that's dictated by your test results. We check your chloride levels. Again, it tells you whether it's high, moderately high, normal. It tells you the associated conditions. It tells you the recommendations on how to lower it. There's something else here we're calling nutrient utilization of the liver. And it could be a normal. It could be so far out that we can't test it. It'll tell you right here, poor utilizations of carbohydrates by the liver. It tells you what that means and the associated symptoms of that and the recommendations on how to fix it. It goes on for poor utilizations of protein by liver, and the same thing, recommendations and all that stuff, poor utilizations of fat by liver. It goes on, the next category is specific dietary findings. And this tells you exactly what food types your body doesn't handle well. How can you be placed on a diet if you don't know which foods your body doesn't handle well? If your body doesn't handle proteins well, should you be pounding down the proteins in your diet? The answer is no. You have to kind of back off on it so we can fix that problem, and then we can slowly add proteins to the diet. And that's how you heal the body properly. But this tells you which one. Poor handling of bad fats in your body, poor handling towards excessive proteins in your diet, tendency towards poor handling of excessive complex carbohydrates, tendency towards poor handling of excessive refined carbohydrates. All of them come with the associated conditions and the recommendations on how to reverse that. And then we test the nutrient levels. Now, we don't test every single nutrient level because, one, it'd be very expensive. Two, it's not necessary. We have what we call markers or indicator nutrients, meaning this. For instance, vitamin C. When the body uses vitamin C, it doesn't just use vitamin C to make vitamin C work in the body. It uses a whole conglomerate of other vitamins, minerals, enzymes, coenzymes to make the C work. So if you're deficient on C, we know what other vitamins and minerals you're going to be deficient on. Now, this One of them is vitamin A, and it tells you exactly what the body uses vitamin A for. It tells you how deficient you are, or if you're normal. It tells you the associated conditions if you are deficient, and it tells you the recommendations on how to not be deficient anymore. We also test the vitamin B, we test the vitamin C, we test the chromium levels, we test the calcium levels, we test the vitamin E levels, we test the fatty acids, we test the phosphorus, we test the trace minerals, and you will get all these answers back just from your UA test. The second test is what we call a symptom survey. Now, there's a lot of symptom surveys out there, and we don't like them because they're made by manufacturers that are trying to sell you their supplements. And we've learned over the years, and we've been doing this since 1978, that there's no one manufacturer out there that makes the best of everything. In fact, we like one company for C, we like another one for B, we like a third one for enzymes. So we put together our own custom-made symptom survey, and it has some 200 symptoms on it. Next to each symptom, there's a 1, a 2, or a 3, and a 3, I should say. You circle the 1 if that symptom barely pertains to you. You circle the 3 if it pertains to you a great deal. If it doesn't pertain to you at all, you just skip it and move on to the next symptom. Now, once we get those results back, we have some software that can determine what's going on based on your symptoms. And what the computer will print out is your symptom survey results. And they'll look like this. It'll tell you exactly what's wrong, the top 10 things that are wrong in order. For this person, it was biliary and liver dysfunction because it was 22% was exactly the highest score. The next one was at 16%, and it tells you in order what's wrong. And then the very next page, it starts right here. It tells you what biliary and liver dysfunction means, and it gives her the answers on why it said that this is what's wrong. The related answers to the liver. And it goes on. The next one for this person is more biliary and liver dysfunction. More biliary. And so this person had a lot of things wrong regarding the liver. And it's just explaining that to the person why they selected it. The next one is sugar handling. And it tells you what sugar handling is all about. And these were the answers that led the computer to believe, you know, why that person has sugar handling. So you get that. And the other thing you get is your supplementation list. This is a supplementation that tells you exactly which supplement to take. It names the supplement. It tells you when to take them. It tells you how many to take. It has a description of each supplement. It even has a price. There's no hidden cost here. It tells you how much these supplements are going to cost you by the day, by the week, and by the month. So it's a very simple, very comprehensive program. The third test, if you can even call it a test, is what we call our confidential health questionnaire. Now that consists of some 15 pages of questions, and you have to answer each and every one in detail and honestly. So what happens is we get the answers from all 3 of these tests, and we put together for you a diet and other things like our 7 in 7 detox program, and that if you need it, if your tests dictate that. We have a juicing program. We have a modified juicing program. We put it all in here in the book of recommendation, which was written by Dr. Robbins himself. Now, for this person, we recommend they start with our 7 in 7 2-week detox. And that actually explains everything, the discussion on it, when to begin it, how long to be on it. It's very simple. And then from there, you move on to the juice diet. There's a discussion on it. There's how to do juicing. In other words, you're not supposed to do, a lot of people don't know, you're not supposed to have more than 8 or 10 ounces per hour in juice. It tells you, it has recipes, etc., etc. It tells you how long to be on it, gives you notes and all kinds of things about the juice diet. And then it tells you after the juice diet, we want you to start a modified juice diet. And after that, then it's your dietary program. And then we spell out exactly what we want you to have for breakfast, what we want you to have for lunch, what we want you to have for dinner, what we want you to have for the snacks, and along with all the supplements. It's very simple. And this book not only stops there, but it has discussions regarding many things, including exercise, hygiene. It teaches you how to food combine properly. It tells you even how to take enemas, colonic irrigations. It has a few pages of frequently asked questions. It teaches you about supplementations, why some are good, why some are harmful. It tells you all kinds. There's discussion